There you go.
Hi. So some of you know me and some of you don't, and I'd like to welcome those who are returning and thanks to those that are new and have chosen to be here with us tonight. This is the third in a six-part series of loss, grief, and bereavement. And while this series is not a one-stop-fits-all of loss, death, and bereavement, it's a place to start discussions on topics that are not discussed, little discussed, or hard to find information on for those of us who are bereaved and are looking for answers to questions that we might have. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Catherine Weir, and I'm a loss, grief, and bereavement counselor. And I run my own business called It Just Happens, all one word. Excuse me. And I help people who need answers, who want someone to talk to, someone who has been there, done that, and someone who has learned and trained skills to help the bereaved heal. As some of you who have been here before might remember, the first presentation in this series was on the crazy experiences that happen after the loss of a loved one or of self. And the second presentation continued discussing how to be a good support system for the bereaved. Tonight, the discussion on loss, grief, and bereavement continues with the topic of the holidays and how to make it through. Note this presentation is taped, which Mary Jean mentioned, and it will be posted on the Awakening Spiritually site and on my own website, which is itjusthappens.ca. So for tonight's topic, I'm going to give you my thoughts, conclusions, perspectives, research findings, and practical experiences on how to make it through the holidays. And I use the holidays as you'll always hear me say the holidays sanely, with as many or little tears, anger, hurt, frustration as you are comfortable with expressing. Now, while this topic is discussed in different venues, as I have shown in my previous presentations, I like to take a personal get down and dirty approach to a topic that still few talk about. Topics that need to be discussed, taught to our children, and become an everyday language in everyone who is living. Of course, my approach is not the absolute way to go, but it is different. It is a different start to the topic that I'm always open to discussing and sharing with others. I am very much looking forward to the Q&A session after this presentation, as I think the presentation will raise a lot of questions that we can discuss as a group. Within this presentation, I look at three areas: how to make it through the holidays, coping strategies, and changes through time. But first, three things must be noted. First, in the sixth presentation in this series is on Wednesday, March 22nd, and at present remains open to what the topic of the presentation will be. Last presentation in October, two great ideas were put forth. And then after that, I had a friend outside of here put in another idea. So far I have three ideas, and these ideas are so great. Sorry. These ideas are so amazing that I'm thinking that if we keep adding, I might do a second series because I can't fit it all in. And you seem to want to know the answers, which is what I want to give you. So if you have an idea and you want to put it in, you can tell Mary Jean, you can tell me, you can send it to us, you can tell us in the Q&A, anything, but we're open to anything. Second, at the end of this presentation, I'm offering a special discount for all participants here tonight. That was the flyer that I uploaded at the beginning with Mary Jean. So just download that, and it has all the information on it. Finally, I would like to note for the newbies that I am aware that this is an international forum and common bond that brings all participants together. And we have a shared belief in spirituality in whatever method of comfort and discovery this means for you. So I do not identify by any religious belief, but I'm highly spiritual. My beliefs are Buddhist, indigenous religions, and Wiccan. I believe in past lives, future incarnations, shared energies, deep connections with nature and living beings, and that at the core of healing, love and growth comes from the center of one's being. So all of my theories or ideas or whatever come from that belief system of mine. So on the topic of, we're going to start with the first part, on the topic of how to make it through the holidays. So the truth is, according to me, if you are bereaved or experiencing loss, then the holidays suck. Plain and simple, they suck. They can be anything from terrifying to debilitating, depending on the intensity of the loss and on your own experiences from this loss. And for others, they are a time of putting your feelings in a box, duct taping your mouth closed, putting this box in a safe, and then covering the safe with fast hardening concrete. Anything to not let those feelings out. And then there are those who put on a smile and pretend their way through what you should do. Or crying in the bathroom before splashing water on your face and cheering up as you open the bathroom door to exit it. What I have described here is the truth of the bereaved at Christmas. Now, let me explain how I use the term the holidays. It has two meanings for me here. First, coming from a Christian-based society, the holidays refers to Christmas time. So when people say over the holidays, to me, it always means Christmas time. Somewhere between the end of November and the beginning of the new year. There are parties at work, through organizations and community groups, amongst extended families, and then friends who want to be happy over the holidays. And while Christmas time is party time, for some, this is about the birth of Christ and all that Christianity means. Others, it's about family time. And then there are those devoted to Santa and what the meaning of Santa brings. Whatever the reason, in the West, in Christian-based countries, the holidays refers to Christmas time. For those not in a Christian-based country, and even for some of us in the West, the holidays can refer to a traditional holiday, religious or not, where families get togethers, events and parties take place, and we think of those, they would be a religious or a traditional country holiday. But for the sake of this presentation, I'm talking about Christmas time in our Northwestern countries. Now, note that on the next talk in January, I will address other holidays and anniversaries throughout the year. So this is focusing only on Christmas. So now let's look how we make it through this season. When I started out saying the holidays suck, I was being downright open about what I've experienced and when it comes to bereaved and making it through the holidays. This will be the 29th, the holiday, without my Mikkel. And ladies and gents, it is the first one where I am okay in celebrating it. Yes, it has been 29 plus years to be able to make it through what is to come. And absolutely no one has to be the same as me. You don't have to wait 29 years to change. Yeah, it all depends on two things, which I'm going to discuss now. in this section, feelings and behaviors and how those affect how you react or experience the holidays. Okay, first we're going to look at feelings. Now, if anyone was at my first talk in May, way back in the beginning of the year, I talked about different types of feelings and how important feelings are to healing grief and loss. Again, I reiterate that the need to know what you are feeling and being honest with yourself and having these feelings is necessary in order to heal yourself. And also to know how to be safe with yourself. What do I mean by this? Well, if you know how you are feeling, then you are able to identify what is happening in and around those feelings. So I'm feeling sad. So I look around me and I say, this is when I'm sad, this is what happens around me. This is how I act. This is whatever I do. And this gives you a pathway, which I use throughout this talk, to enhancing, changing, or adapting to feelings that you are more comfortable with. So I feel angry, but I don't want to feel angry. I want to feel happy. So when I'm feeling angry, how do I change behaviors around me in order to get to that happy place that I want to be? Also, when you know what a feeling does to you, then you're able to react faster and safer in order to let yourself have a better outcome. Here's an example. This has nothing to do with Christmas. I'm a strong feminist. And when I see a put down of women, I have a tendency to basically go up and down and all around the uninformed, prejudiced instigator, saying things that are truthful and honest. This can be called a major dressing down, and I am very good at it. But what I've learned in doing this for years is that I don't necessarily get the results I want. Yes, I have intellect. Yes, I know what I'm talking about. Yes, I have statistics and research to back all what I'm saying up. Doesn't go well. First of all, I could be punched out. That's logical. Second, which is more likely, the instigator riles back up and takes none of the logic that I'm putting forth. So I don't hear anything I say, anything that's smart, logical, whatever. They don't hear what I say. Or the other side, which is concerning for me, is that I often rescue a woman thinking I need to protect her instead of supporting her and helping her to use her own power. So there are unsafe situations by me doing that. And there are situations where I'm doing completely the opposite of what I want to do. So learning that it's not best when I experience someone behaving inappropriately or saying inappropriate things to women, I have to learn how to react to that in a way to not downplay the woman that I'm hoping to help, at the same time keeping myself safe from not being punched out, all the while still getting my point across so that hopefully that instigator learns something from that experience. So that's how I'm saying feelings and behaviors and learning those things. Please understand it's taken me years to figure that out. This was not a one-time thing. So to break it down, the feeling of this incident, the feeling is anger, bordering on rage. The results were not great. So what have I learned? Take out the outward anger, this rage that I throw at people. I can still be angry, but I must not act angry. My angry must reflect a centered, intelligent woman who is able to handle situations that are volatile. So we have a feeling of anger, and in recognizing this anger, I have learned a behavior that's much more peaceful in dealing with these situations. Basically, I stay conscious, because if you stay conscious, then you are making logical choices at every step of your behavior in that situation. So now let's go back to the holidays. If you haven't already done so, or if you don't know what you feel around the holidays, it's a good idea to do some exploring. And a good way to do this is making lists. I'm all about making lists, as Alan will attest to. To do this, take a past example when you knew you were uncomfortable. Focus on the holidays because that's what we're trying to work through here. Remember, you might have been angry, enraged, sad, fearful, fake happy, too excited, or whatever. So take that. And now it might be that this feeling brings up thoughts, say that at the time you were not being authentic. So I was being really happy in the holidays, but really I was really upset underneath and I didn't want to be there. That's the sort of response. And this is what we're going to work through. Okay, so once you have a pen and paper in hand, start with a feeling word. Back in the first presentation I ever did in May, there are 5 types of feelings with hundreds of synonyms each for us to look at. These are anger, scared, sad, excited, and happy. And I'll say those again. Anger, scared, sad, excited, and happy. And as I say, they have tons of synonyms for each one, so you can find different words. You don't have to use those. Use whatever you use in your everyday dialogue. So at the top of your list, write down a feeling you know you had. Then branch out, down, whatever way you want to go, sideways, whatever, and write whatever comes to mind. So you might write, it brings up that situation, or it brings up felt sick, or it brings up when mother said, or something like that, right? But just keep going. Don't stop, and don't edit, and don't think anything is wrong with what you're writing. And make sure you write down the feelings that you have, if you can, when you write down, say, mother said this, right? If there's a different feeling there, write it, or a different way to write a feeling, write it down too. So you write down your feelings and others' feelings as well. And then write down behaviors that resulted. So my mother said this, I was angry, I yelled at her, she cried, then everybody at the party was upset and it ruined the whole night. That sort of thing. So you're seeing how the feeling happened, then the behaviors, and there could be a feeling, behavior, feeling, behavior, feeling, behavior. But you're getting down to the one core thing that ruined the moment or made you upset. That's what you're looking after or looking towards. Now, once you're done that, it should give you an idea about staying true to yourself. And I'll talk about this more. And we discussed staying true to yourself in the first of these presentations. So now I want to go back and use this staying true to yourself within this way of addressing your feelings and your behaviors around the holidays as it pertains to bereavement. Okay, in mentioning behaviors and in thinking about the holidays, there will be moments in your life over the holidays where you remember you or others had a reaction to a feeling and the resulting behavior was not appropriate or did not fit, right? Mother said this, I got angry, she got upset, everybody was upset that I said that to her and the whole evening was ruined. And in these moments, they'll tell you, if you were writing this down on paper, they'll note where you need to, you're looking at a review of what happened, and because this is on paper away from you, you can help yourself assess, well, maybe I could have done it this way, or maybe I could have done it this way. My mother would still cry, but this is what I could say to alleviate the upset. And here again, we can use when you say, I feel when you, because, which I taught before. Okay, so now we've got that. Now, because what you want to do is, even if you're bereaved, you want to live a more peaceful and loving life. According to the Dalai Lama, the core of Buddhism belief is that in order to reach this place of ultimate harmony and complete knowledge, then one's ultimate goal is to attain pure love. Using the idea of pure love, know that when you are in bereavement or dealing with the loss, that your feelings and behaviors, according to Buddhism, should always be approached with pure love for you and for others, but always remember yourself. Now, I'm going to give you an example of where you have to remember yourself, because I always think of the Dalai Lama, because, we think of giving, especially altruism and stuff, is that we give of ourselves. And I'm a terrible giver, hard receiver, terrible giver. And giving is great. And I think volunteerism and giving and helping others should be the way of life. But you also have to remember you too in doing that. So, as some of you know, recently I was in the hospital for surgery in August. And I was in a bed next to a man who had Alzheimer's. He had pneumonia. He was very sick. And the bottom line, that it was worse than hell being there. After 12 hours after my surgery, I think it was 12 hours, and it hadn't stopped. This was the whole time I was there. This man was screaming at the top of his lungs. You could hear him at the other end of the hospital, swearing, and all out mayhem was happening. This was constant. And I was trying to recover from my surgery and sleep, and I couldn't sleep because of this instance. And I was beyond myself. And people, all hours of the night and everything, were running in and out, and lights were going on and bumping my bed. And it was horrible. So around 6 a.m., and by the way, the nurses were amazing. And around 6 a.m., one of the nurses said to me, "Please have compassion for the man." And I thought about this, and I said, of course, because it's one of my core values, and it's one of the core business attributes that I have is compassion. So I thought, yes, have compassion for this man. And then it continued, and another nurse came in to me, and she actually said, "I didn't know it was this bad." And I said to her, "I'm vacillating between having compassion because I am a bereavement counselor and killing the guy, because I didn't know where I wanted to be at that point. Because where was the compassion for me? It wasn't happening. So what I did was I thought about what I said, and I went back to my Buddhist teachings and recognized that I did not have or want the compassion to be taken from the older man. I still wanted to have compassion for him, but that I had asked to give compassion to him at the expense of myself. So rather than saying, "I need this for me," I would just defer to him. I can't sleep and I'm losing my mind. No, I wanted him to have what was going to him. Now, even the Dalai Lama says that you must always give compassion to yourself as you search to find for pure love within. I want you to remember that in your bereavement. Okay, so far what we've learned about the holidays in this talk is: 1, knowing and being able to recognize your feelings, especially at the time they are taking place, is a priority for staying true to yourself. 2, recognizing and being able to self-analyze behaviors around your reactions to these feelings or other behaviors helps you decide or figure out what changes need to be made and to attain the result you want. I don't want to make my mother upset because I just don't want her to be upset, or I don't want to make my mother upset because if I do, everybody will turn against me. It'll be a horrible party. So being able to recognize these behaviors and change them will help you stay true to yourself. Now, so what this is finding compassion for yourself so that you honor your own pure love. Now, what about staying true to your story? To help you understand this, I'm going to share with you the holidays journey. My son died on the 10th of March, 1993. He was my youngest, and for everyone, he was the center of our worlds. He was smart as a whip, developed his own language, which he spoke until he went to school, was funny, had a heart bigger than the earth itself, and most profoundly was not of this world. When he died, not only was it easiest that he was the one that left, but because of what he taught me, much of it came clear after his death. I knew he had completed his earthly task and returned to his higher state of being. But having said all this, I still walked around in a daze and often wondered how I survived. The first Christmas after Mikkel's death, I could not do the holidays. So Mikkel's dad did a tree, food, and presents for him and Mikkel's older sister and brother. And I went to a friend's house for dinner because she did not want me alone. I was a zombie, but her and her family didn't care. I just sat at the table, food put in front of me, pretty much was the event. This happened for a few years. I did this for a couple of years. Then I came to realize that I could never do holidays again. And in spite of my two older kids, I was having a hard time functioning. I bought or made them gifts, but I just could not see my way to having any sort of celebration. I usually spent the holidays alone because it was safer for me to do so. Now, one year I did do an extended family holiday season, but it was too much for me and I've never done it again. As my other two kids, Alethea and Rowan, grew, they knew that their dad's home was where the holidays were because their mom just couldn't do it. And as the two grew, I could do little things with them, but still the holidays were at their dad's or their dad's family. And I realized through this experience of other events that people did not see what I saw. You see, I always saw what was missing, not what was there. I remember telling Rowan about this earlier this year. The first time this is the first time I've shared this with my children, in almost 30 years. Since her brother died, I told them how I always see emptiness where others are happy and laughing, and how I sense a voice is not being heard. Now, when my grandbaby started arriving 11 years ago, I got invited to my kids' places for the holidays. I was able to do this because my grandmother genes seem to outweigh the realities I have with me. I will do anything for my grandchildren. And even if I am sad or in pain, but there still is no Mikkel. Furthermore, through my experiences with Alethea and her partner's family, I realized that I had spent so many years protecting myself from pain that I had lost the opportunity to have the holidays my family way. I realized my kids and my daughter in particular had taken on the holidays the ways of being that were outside her own family. And truthfully, I found out I don't like it at all. So this year, the holidays will for the first time be in my house, my family. It'll be my ex, my son, my daughter, and their kids, and my daughter-in-law. And I'm happy and comfortable with that. And if anyone wants to know later, I'll let you know how it turns out. So that's how things happened for me. It's not a one size fits all experience. It's what you can do and staying true to yourself. I stayed true to myself. There's different ways that I paid the price for that, but I'm still happy I stayed true to myself. So now let's move on to the second part, the coping strategies and how to develop these for yourself. As I shared, my way of dealing with my grief has been withdrawal, to the extent that I took myself away from my two older kids and lost the opportunity to develop the holidays tradition with our family my way. And I'm talking about my heritage, the Dixon Gustons, as it may be. Note, I haven't beaten myself up over this, but I do recognize what I did, and for reasons that I believe I needed to. I had to survive, and that was my way to survive, and that's okay. I accept my feelings, my past, my behavior in the past, and have decided now to make a change. In the first of this series, I talked about staying true to yourself. You'll hear this come up more in the other presentations too. I want to talk again about this because as it concerns developing your own coping strategies when it comes to the holidays. In a little run up to the holidays, take the opportunity to explore the holidays as it pertains to your grief. And look at your feelings and the resulting behavior and resulting behaviors and feelings. As I said, with the list, you can do it any way you want. You don't have to do it with a list. Now you should have some feeling. With feelings, you'll always have a behavior, a reaction, a behavioral reaction to that. And it might be, and so your feeling might be the same as the initial, but it might be different. My mother said this, I was angry, I reacted and said this, she was upset, then I was upset and hurt because everybody else was upset at me. So I've gone from anger to upset and hurt myself. So you see that transition. Okay, so take this last feeling, this hurt in this example, and put it in your gut. I'm suggesting that the gut is where your staying true to yourself monitor. So now we're working with the brain, the heart, and the gut. So the brain is the logical part, the heart is the feeling part, and the gut is the staying true to yourself, where you're going to measure how this all works out. So ask yourself this, am I okay with how I feel? And if you aren't, then you know it's time to change that initial behavior, which might mean changing your attendance. You might not go. That would be me. Or you might change the rules around your attendance. And we'll talk about more of that later. Or not participate at all. Because your gut says, this is not going to be good for me. Now, remember this, though, because feelings cannot be changed or removed. You can't, feelings just happen. They can be ignored, but because they are an intellectual body reaction to an outside event, feelings happen, period. You can't get rid of feelings. It's the same as breathing. You can't get rid of it or you're not here. Also, if you want to stay true to yourself, you're going to have to weigh the outside of you costs for doing so. So I've learned over time, 30 years, to weigh the outside of not being able to create a Christmas type family thing for my family versus protecting myself and my grief. And I've decided to make a change. So for me, I chose withdrawal and paid the price of losing and having a say in the way my other two children developed their behaviors around the holidays. I don't have regrets. I have mentioned that before. I do have sadness, but I've also realized I have the power to change this, which I think now needs changing. And besides that, I found out that being a grandparent has more power than anything in this world. Now, I have given you one way to learn how to cope with the holidays, which is practicing and assessing your feelings, your behaviors, and checking out with your gut through self-discovery of your own feelings and behaviors, as well as the reactions of those around you, and the choice you have to self-analyze the experiences so you can stay true to yourself. The other way I suggest refers back to the October presentation on being a support person for the bereaved. As you remember, I went through 5 different types of support people and who was or who was not the best person to have in your life. The top 2 were those who can't help but make you cry, and those who say nothing at all because they don't have to. And in those 2 people, I noted that there were top 4 traits of a good support person. 1, they must always be able to leave themselves at the door. They must be able to listen with compassion, understanding, and keep their mouths shut until they know it's time to talk or that the bereaved person asks them to talk. And they must always be willing to recognize the deceased. The deceased exists, did exist, still exists, if only in the mind or the experiences of the bereaved person, and they must be available. Now, well, these traits are absolutely what you want in your support person, asking for help around the holidays. Others are also willing to be there for the holidays. Check out hospices, mental health clinics, religious supports, counselors. And I also offer a service of an anytime emergency, which I call I Am in Need. And it's on that flyer. You can check that out. You can ask the support person for many things. You can they help you work through how you want to proceed in a certain situation? So set up a scenario, have them work through it with you. If this happens, what do I do? If this happens, what do I do? How do I get out of this situation? That sort of thing. It's good to run through those because they will come up. You can use the list scenario that I mentioned, or and it always works best in doing these scenarios to do it with someone else too, because you have someone else to bounce ideas. You can see their reaction, their facial reaction. You can see their body reaction, and you know that's something you might get from them or anyone there, your mother, your sister, your daughter, whomever is there. Family members and friends are often too scary for you to work with. So that's where a counselor or someone outside of that, a safe person, is someone you should work with. You don't want them. The reason you don't want these family member or friends is you don't want them to be upset because you're upset. Your mother will always react upset. Or you think they will be frustrated or angry that you're still having these feelings. Like, haven't you got over it? It's been 30 years, like, come on. So you just don't want that stuff. You don't want that garbage. Or you don't want to hurt the other person. So you say something, this happened, you say something and the person takes it personally, then they get upset and you have to deal with all those reactions. So you just don't want to get into that. So that's why person outside family or friends is often the best person. Whatever the reason, pick someone that who fits with what you need from them. So I'm going to give you some examples. A family member might help you set up a situation where if you are teary-eyed, you can escape to a bedroom for a while. So you talk to your sister and you say, I'm coming over. I'm really upset that, my husband's still not alive or whatever, or I only lost him 2 years ago. I'm still upset. And I'm afraid of crying. And so you say, okay, well, how about we set up a situation where there's a code word or a signal and you leave the room, and I know that what's that about. And I will cover for you. If anyone's asking you, I'll just say, oh, you felt tired, you're having a nap, but I'll check in on you, that sort of thing. So looking after the person, but still respecting that person's right to have to withdraw. And all of this is done without judgment. Second, a friend might help you design out your family day. So you're going to go for Christmas and certain things are going to happen. So they might work with you on how to get through, because they know your family and they know you. They might work with you on how to get through certain things that are going to happen or that you anticipate happening, or you just know because it happens every time are going to happen. So you might get them to help you do that. You might also have somebody on standby, someone to call, an outside friend, a counselor, somebody from hospice or a church, or someone that you say, can I have you on call? And they might say, yes, you can call me on Christmas Day, but I eat dinner between 5 and 7. So could you call before 5 or after 7? So, be very clear about what your boundaries are too. You must also do journaling, which you can also continue doing on the Christmas occasions, and keep track of how you are feeling. And this can also alert you when you're going into danger zones, when you're going where you're going to have a meltdown and you don't want people to see you have a meltdown. It also might alert you to where you might do a Catherine and, dress someone up and down. You don't want to do that either. So even in journaling, you're saying, oh, I'm getting near that point, so time to back off. Practice makes perfect. It doesn't necessarily make perfect, but it helps you when there's a situation. I practice so much. I practice with my son. I practice with other people. I go through scenarios, and believe it or not, when it happens, I'm ready. And you might also want to have a buddy who will stick with you as you go through as you toe through the holidays. So you might say, okay, I'm going to go to my family dinner, but I'm bringing my best friend. And you and your best friend have worked out a scenario on how that's going to work. And your family says, sure, we love her and she can come and no problem. She's part of the family anyway, but this friend, knows what's going to happen. So they're there to protect you in a way. So whether it's braving it on your own or doing some self-exploration beforehand or getting someone to help you, remember that you always have to have compassion for you, because if you aren't doing well, outside of you isn't going to respond well. They're either going to be upset, sad, or they're going to be the other end, which is angry. Usually they're not happy. Okay. Now, on the final part of this presentation, I'm going to do the topics of changes through time. As you saw in my story, I went from basically nothing, total withdrawal, to finally finding a way I can move forward with comfort. I went from being a complete zombie to a pretty alert and with it grandma who wants to make Christmas with the grandchildren now my way in my home, before it's too late, before they grow up and they learn all about those other families. Grandma has got to get this through. Now, it took me a long time to get here. I had to deal with a lot of loss, a lot of healing, but I got here. For those experiencing new loss, so a recent loss or a great loss, some losses, I'm not saying any loss is less, but some losses impact you more, even with time. It might take you 30 years. And then again, something like my grandbabies might kick you in the butt and make you change. The degree of pain from your loss will affect how you react, what importance you have on staying true to yourself, and how much you will want to get out and have for yourself. So your bereavement is the core of what is going to happen. And knowing what that bereavement is and what it means to you is very important. Over time, things will change, and so will your outlook. And how do you react to these changes will change too. Some will return. You'll go back. Some you'll go forward. Some you'll have a different response to. That's how you get through the holidays. For me, I still go to family events and other life events and see what is missing. The difference is I've trained myself and sought out help to help me cope with this understanding. So me not seeing Mikkel at birthday parties, at Christmas, whatever, I know that exists. But this year I took the step and shared it with my son. One of the reasons I haven't told my kids is, quite honestly, I didn't want them to be upset. So, but sharing with Rowan really helped this year for me to open up and say, this is why I can't do these things. This is why I haven't been able to do these things. So, and this Christmas, Mikkel will be talked about. Mikkel is still in the room. He still exists. For us, he's there all the time. And now time does not heal all wounds. So that thing, time heals everything, that I don't know who thought that up, but they obviously weren't of sound mind, because that is not true. But it does change. Time does change events that are outside and inside yourself. The best advice I can give you for the holidays, and I will say this a million times over, is staying true to yourself. Let your heart feel and honor that. So have your feelings. Let your brain analyze, hypothesize, and design out behavioral maps to follow. And then take it for a spin around the gut. And if it feels good, you got it. But if it doesn't feel good, if you feel queasy or you're thinking, maybe not right now, I don't know about this, then you either have to send it back to the brain for analysis, revisit your heart to explore further how you're feeling, or be safe and stay home. You might not want to put yourself, staying home might be safer than putting yourself in a situation that you create a situation that will come back to haunt you. People will be angry at you. People will be upset with you and they want to rescue you and all that stuff. And you don't need rescuing. You just need to grieve. Do not be afraid of change from year to year. It's a natural part of bereavement or event to event. One event might be nothing happens. The next event, there you are triggered again. And always, again, stay true to yourself. I keep saying that, stay true to yourself. Because you yourself know what is best for you. You know what you're going through. Only you know what you're going through. And when you're honest with yourself, you know the right thing to do. And that might be that right thing might be staying home and let others think or feel whatever they want. That's what you need to do to protect yourself. It also might be going and stuffing down your feelings for that 6-hour visit or something, making it through with a semi-smile and coming home and bawling your eyes out because you want other people to feel good. But the thing I say most is that the longer you don't stay true to yourself, the longer you're going to be stuck in this process of getting past and healing yourself. Bereavement doesn't end. It just changes. There's just different tools as you go along. And the tools you've got from before help you now. So anyway, that concludes today's talk. And I want to thank each and every one of you for coming. I know this is a smaller audience tonight, but I'm glad we got it out there and that's recorded and we can put it out on the World Wide Web there, I thank you for listening. Now, at this time of years, for those who are bereaved, usually enter a period of feeling unsafe, often unwell, and other feelings can be terrified that you're not able to perform or the standards of your family, friends, and society. Go with your gut. Now, I hope this talk gave you some ideas on how to prepare yourself for the holidays. We're getting very close now. We're at the end of November, so it's entering scary time. Now, following this presentation, there's a Q&A, and I hope the few that are here stay because it would be a nice chat. So I'm hoping that. The next presentation is on January 25th, and it deals with post-loss, the first year and anniversary. So it'll deal with all the other holiday events. It doesn't mean that the Christmas events can't be inserted into that discussion, but I'll focus more on other things which are hard. And one thing in particular is the anniversary, the death anniversary, which is a huge thing. Let's see, we always hear about the first year and that once you get past the first year, things are okay. Again, who thought that up must have been smoking some weed or something, because that's not necessarily true. Don't know anybody who can say that's true. And I also invite you to bring other people to the talk. Oh, and if you still have an idea for the 6th one, a topic that you'd like to see explored or other ones explored, please let us know. And before you go, if you write anything in the comments, I just want to let you know that I like to use those comments, but like on my website and stuff, but I only use your initials, just your initials. Now, if you don't want me to ever use a comment, just say you can't use anything of mine, and I won't. I promise I won't. And finally, please look at the flyer. I've given you a promotion for 20% off, in particular, the I Am in Need, which you might need over Christmas, or you could give it to someone that you know who is bereaved as a gift for them to call in. And I've left it open till January the 2nd. So there's lots of time if you need to have that, because that's something that I want to build in my business, is being that contact person, especially over the holidays, because I've been there for 30 years and you need someone there. you really need someone there. So anyway, thank you for coming. I'm hoping you're back next time. And if you have any questions or that, let's go to the Q&A. So thanks, Mary Jean.